Welcome, good morning to another episode of the Composition Timeout. I know it's been a couple weeks, yeah, a couple days since we talked. I hope you guys, enjoyed the special episode that I put out for the preview of the Super Bowl. But today, obviously, we're going to talk about the recap of the Super Bowl. And just off the top, just going to say, man, what a game. What a game it was. I know there's some people saying it was boring, that they didn't like it, and I disagree. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. Uh, for those that have been, you know, listening and now watching, we are on video for the first time and going forward as well. I'll give you the details at the end. But I like a good defensive game, and this is what this was for most of basically the whole game. Honestly, great performances by both defenses. And then at the end, you know what happened. So let's get right into it. Okay. So the big game, going into it, if you watched the preview, I had the Chiefs. So did Rome. Uh, also, Rome and I will be doing a show soon. So I'll give you the details on that when that comes in. But we both picked the Chiefs. Obviously, I kind of alluded that it would be a close game. I think I predicted a score, which I don't usually do, and I predicted 31-27. Obviously, we know what the final score was. It was a 3-point game there. So, all right. So this game starts, and the Niners lose the toss, and Kansas City defers. Everybody knows that's what they do. They're going to defer and give San Fran the ball to start with, which I don't blame them. It is a good strategy. You have, a lot of inexperience over there. First time Super Bowl, particularly Purdy, McCaffrey. Uh, well, no, not McCaffrey, but Purdy, the main one. First Super Bowl, people still want him to prove himself. Give him the ball first, and guess what? In true San Francisco Kyle Shanahan fashion, they were driving down the field. They were driving down the field, running the ball, just pounding it. I think that first drive, I think they only passed once, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look it up really quickly for just our stuff. Um, okay, so I was wrong. So they did. There was some passing. McCaffrey and Juszczyk, not to any of the receivers, but it was mainly McCaffrey all game. They were getting push on Kansas City's D line right off the bat, and something you don't see a lot is McCaffrey fumbles. And to me, the first thing I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. This is a drive. They got killed by this fumble. Kansas City gets the ball. They're going to do something. Kansas City goes in and, 3 plays, 3 and out, punt, nothing to it. Uh, the Chiefs get the ball back and, punt. It was again. They punt themselves. So we go punt, punt, punt. Chiefs get the ball back and they punt again. Finally, we get some scoring. The 49ers are able to move a little bit and they get a field goal. Kansas City gets the ball back. They're driving a really good drive that they put together here. And they give the ball to Isaiah Pacheco down in they were in the red zone. And Pacheco fumbles. So right now, this game is 3-0 San Francisco. Still the first quarter, I believe. Yep. Still the first quarter. And both running backs have fumbled. So I was thinking, I mean, what's going on? I mean, nobody wants to do a thing, I guess. Anyway, we Stall out after that. You know, there is a punt and then another punt by there's a obviously as we know there's a punt by the 49ers after the fumble. So Kansas City uh, clears that disaster. And then there's a punt by Kansas City. The Niners drive, and ends up being the first touchdown of the game on a trick play. Jawan Jennings ends up throwing a pass to McCaffrey in the backfield that he runs into the end zone, and it is 10-0 San Fran. And this is still all this is still all the first half. And then after that touchdown, Kansas City does come back right before half and takes the field goal, which they needed. They go into halftime down 7. Um, so right now into halftime, I myself am thinking, I've seen this before last year that against my Eagles, the Eagles were up, 10 as well. This was 7. The Eagles went into halftime up 10, 24-14, and Kansas City came back. Different team in the second half. Uh, so my inner gut saying, well, they're not out of this. Anyway, we get back after a great halftime show by Usher. Way to go. First possession, Kansas City gets the ball right out of the gate. They get a couple plays in, and Pat throws a pick. I don't know what he was looking at. He was forcing it to Kelsey, and he missed on the throw. And up to this point, especially up to this interception, Steve Wilks and the 49ers had a great game plan going. Sorry. They played what looked like a lot of zone more than they did man, and they only brought 4. I believe by the end of this game, by when it was all said and done at the end of this game, they blitzed I think 4 times, and they ended up blitzing like towards the end. But they brought 4, and they were getting pressure. Kansas City's line, I thought going into the game was a little better than San Francisco's line, but they really missed Joe Tooney on the inside because I think the inside of this Kansas City line all season was their strong suit. Tooney, Humphrey, and Smith right in the middle. The tackles were always a toss up with Donovan Smith, and then on the right side, Juwan Taylor. They've been kind of the weakest link there. But this 49ers defense was getting pressure before. The one thing that I was thinking the whole time, even up to when Mahomes threw the interception, was that Mahomes didn't look like himself. He did not. He was very undecisive. It looked like whatever the 49ers were doing was confusing him, and I'll get into the film probably tonight if it's out, definitely tomorrow. But there was a lot of pump faking, a lot of indecisiveness by him, where he's just flicking it out, which we saw for most of the game, and it came out when it needed to be, when it came out when it needed to come out from him. But up to this point, when he throws the interception, I didn't like what I was seeing from Mahomes at all. It's very undecisive. Didn't look like him. Steve Wilks was doing a great job, and I guess I wouldn't say confusing Mahomes, but he was, things were being taken away. Anyway, the Chiefs defense comes up big after the interception because they forced the 49ers to punt. Then Chiefs get it back and punt. Another punt by the San Francisco 49ers. Chiefs get the ball back, and they get a field goal. So this is a 10-6 game right now as we stand. 10-6. Niners get the ball. It is a punt. Chiefs get the ball. It is a punt, but they get some luck. The punt that they punt hits a 49er in the leg, which causes Ray McLeod to go after the ball. And I know at the beginning, a lot of people, including who I was watching the game with and me myself, were confused as to why Ray McLeod tried to touch the ball there. But it turns out he knew something we didn't know. And it was when they showed the replays after, you realize that the ball, it was already anybody's ball. The ball touched a 49ers player's calf, leg, and that was a live ball. So that's why Ray McLeod tried to go scoop it because he knew it touched something. The the Chiefs recover inside the 20, one play, 16 yards to NVS to Marquez Valdez Scantling for the touchdown, and the Chiefs take their first lead of the game. It's 13-10. Momentum seems to be on their side after the muffed and the touchdown in one play. Not so fast. 49ers and Brock Purdy drive down the field and they answer back. It is Jawan Jennings scores a touchdown. It is 16-13 because the Chiefs get in there and what probably decided this game, if you want to pinpoint something, was probably this: the blocked extra point on this touchdown. It would have made it 17-13, a 4-point game. Instead, it made it a 3-point game. Anyway, because it's a 3-point game, Kansas City puts together a pretty decent drive, gets a field goal. 49ers come back, they get a field goal. They're up 19-16. But guess what? After they go up 19-16, after a great defensive stop by the Chiefs defense, who kept this offense in the game for basically the whole game, because the Chiefs offense they had 16 yards in the first quarter. It was a bad first half for this offense. They picked it up in the second half to make it look better than it actually was. This is very much a defensive battle. Great game, though. The 49ers kick a field goal to make it 19-16. And automatically, the first thing I do is look at the clock. And I realized that they left too much time on the clock for Pat. Pat was starting to get in the groove. You can tell, the last couple of drives, they've gotten points. And they left a minute 53 once that kickoff was had, and it was a touchback. A minute 53 for Patrick Mahomes to have the ball in the Super Bowl, and he drives down the field, does enough, and they get the field goal. Obviously, he was looking for Kelsey on a play there to get that kind of the back shoulder throw that they do against Warner. It was incomplete. This play brought on something that the cameras caught, where Rashee Rice was a little pissed, and him and Mahomes looks like they had a little bit of words. And when you look at the replay after, you saw them have words, you look at the replay and Rashee Rice was pissed because in that play where he went to Kelsey, Rashee Rice was open. You can watch it again. He was pissed. He was like, look, I was open, could have won the game. Yep. Chiefs get the field goal. We're tied and we're going to overtime. So overtime in the NFL, in the playoffs, overtime changed because of something that happened in a Bills Chiefs game a few years ago. So new NFL rules for overtime. Both teams get a possession. Doesn't matter what happened. Both teams get a possession. So the 49ers win the toss. They decide to receive. The word going around is that even if the Chiefs have won it, they would have deferred and kicked it off. Anyway, the 49ers put together a 13-play drive, which looked like they were ready to pound it in. McCaffrey gets down to, I think, like the 8-yard line or so. Then there was like a flag and everything, and they stall out. The defense, Spagnuolo, comes up big. They stall out. Only a field goal. 22-19 right now. Plenty of time. Plenty of time for Pat. He gets the ball. It's his possession. Here we go. Plenty of time. So, with this plenty of time, the Chiefs go to work. That's all. And needs to be said. The Chiefs go to work. They get some plays. Uh, there was some. I think there was a blitz on this drive or two, which, like I said, Wilkes went to the blitz late, even though the 4-man stuff was working. They were playing pretty soft. It felt like they were playing very off and very soft. It felt like in this drive. Don't know why. Mahomes, Reed, they they were moving. They were moving. They were doing things. One of the blitzes happened in overtime, or was it the fourth? Everything's blending in. But anyway, cut them off guard. They get down to the red zone, and this is where you got to know. Tony Romo points it out because they get down to the red zone. I think it's inside. It's on the 5 or inside the 5 or maybe the 6, something like that. And they don't call a timeout. We're down to like seconds. And Tony Romo reminds us it doesn't matter. They're not in a hurry because even if the quarter ends, they will start overtime number 2 because the Chiefs were still in their first possession, for those who might have been confused with the new overtime rules. So we're thinking, all right, they're going to run it out. After Romo points that out, the clock keeps ticking. It's getting closer, to time running out. And they hike it. Miko Harmon does the motion that, as we famously know from NFL films and the behind the scenes stuff, is called corn dog. Called the corn dog. Miko Harmon on the same side as Travis Kelce. Motions in, gets hiked, and he goes out. And this is a play that they got the Eagles on last year twice. And different players. It was Tony and Sky Moore. And it looked different. It wasn't the same formation either. This is how this is what coaches do. Different formation, same play. Anyway, where we go. And just with seconds, people thought they were going to let it run out. Pat Mahomes throws it to Miko Harmon, who's open because dangling up in coverage. And my God, look, I just recapped the game. I'll get into my thoughts right now. Look, let's start off with, I pointed this out on the preview that I did with Rome, but do you guys realize, put the hate aside, put the comparison, what you're going to hear today a lot of is on TV, on podcasts, on anything you listen to, the big topic is, I already heard it this morning on the radio, local radio, is like, is Mahomes the greatest athlete or the greatest quarterback of all time, whatever. That's not where I'm gonna go here, because I understand I'm not here for that. I want everybody to know what they're witnessing. Put away your hate. I get if you're from New England, you're like, nah, Tom, whatever. I guess your excuse. But everybody else, put away your hate, your stupid hate, because that's what it is, and just sit back and realize what you're witnessing. I said it already. This is a guy. This is his 4th Super Bowl. He is now 3-1 in the Super Bowl. The only loss is to Brady. And then that's a different argument that people want to get into, whatever. He is 28. He's won 3 Super Bowls, 3-1 in them, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 NFL MVPs. Like, what we're witnessing is really good. This is his 7th season as a starter. He's been to the AFC Championship every season. He's been the starter. They've been in the Super Bowl 4 times out of those 6 seasons. The only 2 times was when Brady beat him as a Patriot. Joe Burrow beat him a few years ago. That is it. What we're witnessing is something to marvel at if you're a sport fan. What we saw at that end is why we lost sports. When people ask you, like, why do you do this? Like, when people ask me, like, why do you do this podcast all this time talking sports, like, why do you do this? It's because of moments like this is why I love sports. Because of moments like that last, this man letting it run down, we're thinking he's going to overtime, hikes it, and that's how they win on a walk-off fashion to win his 3rd Super Bowl. That's why. Because I got to see I realize what I'm witnessing is probably one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. I watched Brady, I watched Manning. Trust me. To this point, I was feeling the same way. I just didn't have a podcast. I was young. I was feeling the same way with those guys, but what we're witnessing right now in real time, and you're able to digest it, is phenomenal. Listen, I'm not gonna get into the comparisons. Like, I understand that this is only the start of Patrick's career. Tom played 20 years, and Patrick might not play 20 years. But right now, this is a really good start, and I'm not doing the comparison. You have to point out. Obviously, we know Andy Reid. We knew that was coming. Andy Reid, one of the best coaches. I think my two. I said it. I don't think. I know my two favorite coaches in the league right now, offensively, played against each other last night, and it was fun to watch. Uh, but Andy, you got to give it up. A guy that, as people point out, people said he couldn't win with a big game. Obviously, he had chances in Philly, didn't do it. Things like that. Turn it around. Has three now. I think there's a possibility he might retire. I don't know. I'm not putting anything there, but there'll be a interesting offseason. Obviously, I don't know what was going on. This is the second time him and Kelsey has gotten into some things. We're never gonna know what's going on inside unless somebody writes an article. I doubt that it happens, but like, they're fine. Rasheed Rice and Patrick will be fine. I think that was the Rasheed Rice. Patrick was in the heat of the moment. Everybody, a lot of people were pressing. The Chiefs were pressing. People were trying to be heroes. And I get it. Rasheed was open. He's like, look, it's my moment. Throw it to me. I'm open. I would have caught it. Probably could have won it there in regulation. MVS in overtime, trying to be the hero, gets a completion and then tries to slip away from a tackle and goes backwards. They were pressing. Listen, and they didn't know working out for them. Spagnolo, what a run this year. As many people have pointed out, offensively, as you saw most of this game, this is what the Chiefs' offense looked like most of the year. It was a struggle. In this first half, most of this game, that's what we saw. Like Patrick said on the stand, this was a microcosm of their season. It's exactly how their season played out. And they turned it on at the end. And that's how they did. They turned it on at the end. Miami, Buffalo, Ravens. They turned it up those games at the end. Basically, it was a mirror of their season. Horrible. Looked horrible that first half. Most of the third. Turn it up at the end when it mattered, and they win. This is what winners do. Spagnolo with this defense all year. This was the best unit on this team for the first time since Pat's been there. It's the best unit on this team. And guess what? Hey, you go down the line, it's not like we had a bunch of all pros there. These guys just have a veteran coach who coached them, knew what to do, knew the situations, have two corners that have played outstanding this year, McDuffie and Sneed. And my God, they pulled it off. They pulled it off. I mean, what else can you say? On the other hand, the losing team, listen, I don't know what to say. Like I said, Shanahan's probably my number two favorite coach, offensive coach out here. But I mean, I don't know. It's got to be something that motivates Kyle. I don't know why he can't get it done. Kyle is a good offensive mind, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what to tell you. This team is also very talented. Probably 1-2 with the Ravens this year, and the Chiefs beat both of those guys. Purdy didn't have a great game, but he also didn't have a bad game. It was in the middle. He wasn't the reason they lost, but he also wasn't the reason they won. So he played an okay game. Uh, I think Devo being banged up probably played into some things. Greenlaw on defense, even though the defense still stayed pretty steady after he got hurt. I think that might have mentally got to them a little bit. Just being on that stage, as veteran as Trent Williams has been, he's never been to a Super Bowl. I could have, an experience there. But I don't know what to say about Kyle. Unfortunately, now he's 0-2 as a coach. He lost as a coordinator in Atlanta when they blew that lead against Brady. I don't know what to think of Kyle when it comes to these moments. The there was a point where I was watching, one of my best friends, I was watching the game, and we pointed out that there was a drive where I think it was in the second half, there was a drive while they were up after the interception. Um, it was a drive or two where this man was just calling passes, and they were getting pushed on the ground. They were getting pushed on the ground, and he got away from it. And this is what I've kind of alluded to. Like, these guys are so-called geniuses that they outsmart themselves, and they don't go with the obvious choice. This is why, like, so many fans of teams yell, "You run the ball here." And guess what? These guys are like, look, man, whatever feel they have, whatever groove they're in, they just outsmart themselves sometimes. And I'm not saying that's the reason why they lost, but I just think that you know there was a couple chances where you could have run the ball, wanted to pass, and the pass was working um, to an extent. But and the guys, the non-big names were making plays. Juwan Jennings obviously had a touchdown and a couple big catches in that throw. Also, um, Conley had a catch. I mean, yeah, McLeod had another catch. Like, it was out there. Other players were making the plays that they needed to, and it just didn't happen. I mean, they lost to possibly um the best coach and quarterback duo left at the moment. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. They played the best game they could, and the Chiefs just ended up surviving and sticking through, and they had the will, the heart, whatever you want to call it, to finish it, and they didn't. But 49ers will, they got some decisions to make. Obviously, like every team, because there's a cap space, but I'm sure John Lynch will figure it out. But they'll come pushing again, and I don't doubt that they'll come pushing again. But we'll get into that later. But I mean, what else can you say besides I don't know what else Shanahan could do, honestly, besides switch party for Patrick Mahomes possibly. But anyway, what a game, man! What a game! I don't know about the commercials. The halftime was really good. Commercials were eh. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I enjoyed the game. I know some people didn't like it, but I enjoyed this game as a football fan. Like I said, um, very enjoyable game. So yeah, but like I said, that was our full Super Bowl recap here on the competition timeout. Like I said, we are on video right now. The the link is in the 314 Media DE Instagram, 314 Media on YouTube. That's where you can find the video if you can't get to the podcast that you find on your, the usual where you're at. So yeah, catch us there. But we'll be back tomorrow with some more competition. I'm out. Peace.